كما قالت مع كوليج وسيلة, this is on the record and we'll go one by one, and to not lose any time, I will hand it over to Madam Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Thanks to each of you for being here today. What a unique opportunity the U.S. and Algeria have to celebrate our Independence Days, one day directly after the other. This close timing reflects the close and historic bonds between our two nations. And so before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the crucial role of the media in keeping the public informed. An informed public improves mutual understanding between our two peoples, our two nations, and your role in providing information to Algerians about our diplomatic ties is vital. The U.S. government has worked diligently with the Algerian government to strengthen our economic and security collaboration on bilateral, regional, and international issues. We have increased people-to-people ties with Americans and Algerians working together on everything from tourism to scientific research to outer space. Our collaborative efforts in English language learning and education exchange have enriched the lives of Algerian and American students, creating opportunities for cultural sharing and knowledge transfer. Our bilateral trade and investment ties are also flourishing, with American companies bringing innovation and employment opportunities to Algeria, and Algerian businesses finding new markets and partners in the United States. This economic synergy drives growth and improves lives in both countries, just as our cultural synergy sets up the next generation of our two countries' leaders for success. President Biden and President Tebboune exchanged on the margins of the G7 summit underline the importance of coordinating closely on bilateral objectives, and we regularly exchange views on international initiatives, including at the United Nations, to achieve a more peaceful and stable world. So, you know, I'm optimistic, enormously optimistic about the potential for greater achievements this year and in the future, and I look forward to answering your questions today. Thank you very much. Yatikum Saha.
Good afternoon. My name is Hayat Ben Fatoum. I'm from Hayat TV. Thank you for having us today. And my question is, Algeria was always been an example for international diplomatic and always try to achieve the world peace and defend the rights of colonial countries on the world. And may I speak in Arabic? Yes, I will carry on. And بمناسبة الاحتفال بعيد الاستقلال كل من الجزائر والولايات المتحدة، أود التطرق للبلدان التي تعاني من الاستعمار على رأسها فلسطين، وعن التعاون الجزائري الأمريكي بخصوص هذه القضية.
So, Hayat, thank you for that very important question. It's one of the most prominent and important issues that we face in this very complicated world today. The United States and Algeria have closely collaborated and coordinated since Hamas attacked Israel last October 7th. The Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and Algerian Foreign Minister Attaf have spoken 5 times by phone this year alone. The Algerian ambassador to the United Nations and the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations coordinate almost daily. And in fact, on June 10th, UNSCR 2735 was passed by the Security Council with the support of Algeria, the United States, and frankly, the entire international community. There's one holdout here, and that's Hamas. And so what the U.S. and Algeria also agree upon, not only an immediate ceasefire, but we also agree that there should be a 2-state solution. We also agree that Palestinians are in desperate need of humanitarian assistance. And I had the opportunity last week to thank President Tebboune for the efforts Algeria has undertaken to provide assistance to the Palestinian people. And so we're going to continue to work together and talk together and strive to achieve a peaceful and durable solution for the Palestinian people and for Israel.
السلام عليكم، مساء الخير. خليدة نيلة بن رحال من جريدة المجاهد ناطقة بالفرنسية. Si c'est possible, c'est bientôt la fin de votre mandat en Algérie. Est-ce que c'est possible de nous donner ou la présenter un petit bilan sur votre mandat ici en Algérie? Merci de me répondre.
Okay, thank you so much. So we don't actually know when the end of my mandate is, of course, because we have a complicated ambassadorial process in the United States that involves the nomination by the president and the confirmation by the U.S. Senate. And so this sometimes can take more time than it would in many other capitals. So until the Senate confirms my successor, I'm here, thrilled to be here. Every day in Algeria is a gift, and I will continue to work every day on the U.S.-Algeria bilateral relationship. But let's talk a little bit about what's happened since February 2022, since I got here. We've had a lot of senior level engagement. The Secretary of State came, the Deputy Secretary of State has come twice. We've had other multiple high-level engagements between our two countries. So from a political perspective, we're speaking to each other at every level. We've had our two presidents have an exchange for the first time in more than 2 decades. The U.S. president and the Algerian president had a face-to-face exchange in Bari, Italy. On the economic front, we have more than 100 U.S. companies operating in Algeria, and we have expanded, especially in food security, by obtaining a certification from the Ministry of Agriculture to import bovine genetics, which is going to transform both beef and dairy cattle here in Algeria. We just accompanied 10 Algerian enterprises to the United States last week for Algeria's first ever participation in Select USA, which is the Department of Commerce's premier conference to bring companies together from other countries with U.S. companies to form new partnerships, to form investment opportunities. And in fact, a U.S. and Algerian company signed a deal last week in the U.S. in Washington, D.C. because of that conference. So there's a lot of exciting events and progress happening in the economic sphere, including the fact, of course, that Sonatrach has signed exploration opportunities with both Exxon and Chevron here in Algeria. We continue to support Algeria's desire to increase English language education here in the country through our 5 cultural centers where English language is taught without any charge to anyone who wants to come and learn. We have 5 English language professors who are working with Algerian universities helping to teach English language. And we have a partnership with the Ministry of Higher Education on revamping all English language curricula at the level of higher, at Algeria's universities. And finally, on issues of regional stability, we consult frequently with Algeria on the situation in the Sahel, on the situation in the future of Libya, and on a variety of other multilateral issues where we continue close conversations and our work together.
شكرا. سعادة السفيرة جمال فنيج الصحفي بجريدة الخبر. قبل أيام استمعت إلى خليفتكم جوشوا هاريس خلال عرضه أمام الكونغرس تحدث أن الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية هي أصبحت أول مستثمر في الجزائر، يعني الاستثمارات الخارجية المباشرة. يعني إذا فيه أرقام على حجم الاستثمارات الأمريكية في الجزائر.
Yeah, so according to the latest IMF data, we are the largest foreign direct investor in Algeria. And, I have worked during my mandate to try to continue to increase that, because I really think that our shared economic prosperity is important for both countries, and partnerships between the U.S. And Algerian companies mean that the value proposition that we offer, which is jobs are created in Algeria, technology is transferred here to Algeria, and everybody has a positive impact from the partnership, is something that not many other places can offer. Our model is the best model, and so we will continue to encourage the two countries to look to each other for increased partnership and investment.
Madame l'ambassadeur, voilà, Nabil Mansouri, Maghreb émergent. On a vu que vous avez beaucoup insisté sur la ligne aérienne entre Alger et Washington. Quelle est l'importance de cette ligne premièrement, et où est-ce qu'on est le projet, si vous avez une idée? Et deuxièmement, j'ai une question par rapport au secteur des mines. Dernièrement, quand il y a eu, je pense qu'en janvier dernier, il y avait une rencontre avec les hommes d'affaires américains, avec le ministre de l'énergie. Il avait appelé les investisseurs américains à investir dans les terres rares et de transférer la connaissance dans ce domaine en Algérie. Est-ce qu'il y a du nouveau dans ce point-là?
Okay, thanks, Nabil. I appreciate both of those questions. You have hit on a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is a direct flight between Algiers and New York. If any of you have ever visited the United States, you know that long layovers in European capitals are currently required, and it takes a lot longer than an 8.5-hour flight would take to go directly. It would catapult our people-to-people ties, and it would increase our economic trade and our ability to more easily exchange goods, services, and people between our two countries. And so that's why I have worked so hard to realize a direct flight. The U.S. and Algeria are in negotiations for an open skies agreement, which would then lead to a direct flight. This can be a multi-year process. To negotiate and then to agree to all the terms can take some time. So this is not a quick process. We continue to advocate for why a direct flight makes so much sense for where our two countries are and how we're developing economically and through people-to-people skills. And this will strengthen our partnership. And so we will continue to work with the Civil Aviation Authority here in Algeria and hope for the day that direct flight will happen. I'll be rooting for it, whether I'm still here or somewhere else. I will be a big fan the day that happens. I'll be thrilled.
مرحبا سعادة السفيرة، مديحي من قناة البلاد. سعادة السفيرة، الرئيس عبد المجيد تبون قال أن العام 2024 سيكون سنة اقتصادية بامتياز. المؤشرات اقتصادية كبيرة حتى صنعها الاقتصاد الجزائري في السنوات الأربعة الأخيرة. آخر تقرير البنك الدولي أعاد تصنيف الجزائر تصنيفا وصفه وزير المالية الجزائري بالتاريخي. اليوم الجزائر توجه عام نحو الصناعات الثقيلة والصناعات التحويلية، بحكم أن الجزائر تزخر بثروة كبيرة. هل في إمكانية أنه المتعاملين الأمريكيين يدخلوا في السوق الجزائرية في الصناعات التحويلية والصناعات الثقيلة؟
I think you're going to continue to see U.S. companies investing across the entire economic domain exactly because of what you've just pointed out, Mahdi. This is a great place to do business. There are a lot of incredibly talented, innovative companies here and opportunities here. And I think coming from an entrepreneurial country, we're going to find, as I do, we are going to continue, U.S. companies are going to continue to find the kind of opportunities here that point to the sort of potential that you allude to in your question, right? Heavy industry, light industry, telecommunications, aviation, oil and gas, renewable energy, across the entire domain, agriculture. There are opportunities and there are investments and partnerships being formed. And so we're going to continue to be all about that, helping U.S. and Algerians find each other so that they can both be more economically prosperous and successful.
سؤالي هو حول اللقاء الأخير الذي جمعكم مع الرئيس عبد المجيد تبون. هل كان هناك حديث حول الانتخابات الرئاسية المقبلة في الجزائر؟ وإن كان الجواب نعم، فما ربما ما هي الخطوط العريضة التي تكلمتم عليها؟ والسؤال الثاني في الشق الاقتصادي حول طبيعة الوصول إلى رقم 2 مليون دولار أمريكي في التعاون بين الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية والجزائر التي تكلم عنها وزير الخارجية الأمريكي أثناء زيارته للجزائر. شكرا.
Mohammed, thanks for your question. I gave a press declaration after that meeting that reviewed what we discussed in the meeting. My team is happy to give you a copy of that if that would be helpful to you, so that you can know the subjects that were discussed and what my take on the meeting was. It was a very fruitful meeting where we discussed a number of wide-ranging issues. According to the IMF, the investment is way higher than $2 billion. I think, you know, there's two-way trade, which is one number, and then there's investment, which is another number. In my understanding, our investment as a foreign direct investor is higher than that. In fact, it's probably triple that. Perhaps even a little bit more. On two-way trade alone, we're at $4 billion. So I think that the number is a little bit higher than what you mentioned. Thanks for the question.
Bonjour. Lamia Mamesh, Algérie 360. Merci pour l'invitation. Alors, j'ai deux petites questions que je vais essayer de mettre en une seule. Alors, la première, c'est quels sont les principaux défis auxquels sont confrontées les relations algéro-américaines? Comment éventuellement pouvons-nous surmonter et renforcer davantage ce partenariat? Et ma petite question, c'est un peu, on va dire, en tant que femme, qui la pose. En tant que femme ambassadrice, quel est votre message et votre vision pour l'autonomisation des femmes en Algérie et la région?
Okay, those are two big questions, Lamia. Let me see what I can do to put them all together. So the lines of effort between the U.S. and Algeria are really in the economic space that we've talked a bit about, in the cultural space. So not only English language learning that we've talked a little bit about, but also cultural protection. And in fact, this summer, we are renewing our memorandum of understanding with Algeria to continue our cultural protection and cultural preservation with Algeria in partnership for the next 5 years. So in other words, we've gone through the first 5-year mandate, we're renewing it because we're both very satisfied with the work we've been able to do together. That's a really important piece that impacts the heritage of both of our countries and our ability to know where we came from. And on regional stability, on dealing with the challenges that we face as countries in the world, the U.S. and Algeria spend a lot of time talking to each other, not only about what's happening on the African continent, but what's happening between Israel and the Palestinians, what's happening in other parts of the world. We talk to each other. We don't necessarily have the same views, but that's great to be able to discuss with each other what our views are and to be able to try to forge a path forward on each of the issues. We don't have to see each other exactly eye to eye to better understand each other. And whether you're talking about regional stability, the economy, cultural preservation, English language learning, or diplomacy, when you bring women to the table, you increase your capacity by 100%. And so the United States, as a universal human value, will continue to promote equity in all fields, because it's important that voices be heard with varying perspectives and that we have the chance to hear each other and understand each other better. If we have the chance to listen to each other and hear different perspectives, we're all going to benefit from that. How's that? Close enough.
Bonjour, Sylvie Atecle du Jeune Indépendant. Donc, en termes de coopération économique, comment d'abord qualifiez-vous cette coopération et quels sont les secteurs qui intéressent le plus les États-Unis d'Amérique? Vous avez parlé du volume des échanges commerciaux qui sont au niveau de 4 milliards de dollars. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'il y a une volonté d'augmenter ce niveau?
So, Leila, your question about the economy is the question that takes up the majority of my time as the U.S. Ambassador in Algeria, because it's my #1 priority. It's my #1 priority to expand our economic collaboration across the entire sphere. Whether you're talking about agriculture, whether you're talking about industry, telecommunications, healthcare. Did you know there are 10 healthcare companies operating in Algeria, from the U.S.? There are more than 100 companies in all kinds of sectors. So I want to push that. I want to continue to augment the number of U.S. companies that are here. Whether it's renewable energy or it's production of tractors in Constantine, whatever it is, I want us to be doing more. I would like to double our two-way trade numbers. I would like to increase the foreign direct investment, U.S. foreign direct investment in Algeria. And that is why I have been consistent and insistent on a direct flight between our two countries, because that's going to do more than anything else to continue to cause those numbers to go up. And so that's what we're going to keep spending our time on, because it's really, really important for both of our peoples. And if I can just go back to Nabil's second question about mining, I would say we do not have a mining company operating yet here in Algeria from the United States, but I'm all in on that, right? If there's a U.S. mining company, I'm more than willing to advocate, to give them information, to help them make sure that they know what the opportunities are here in Algeria.
Bonjour. Khalouf Mahni de TSA. J'ai deux questions qui concernent la région du Maghreb. Donc la première, c'est la Libye. Votre probable successeur qui a été cité tout à l'heure par mon collègue, qui s'appelle Joshua Harris, lors de son audition au Congrès, il a dit que l'Algérie et les États-Unis sont en train de coordonner pour éviter à la Libye de sombrer dans la guerre civile. Donc ma question, qu'est-ce que Alger et Washington sont en train de faire concrètement pour éviter ce scénario à la Libye? La deuxième question concerne le Sahara occidental. Donc on sait qu'il y a 4 ans, les États-Unis ont reconnu la souveraineté marocaine sur le Sahara occidental. 4 ans après, est-ce qu'il y a eu une évolution sur cette question? Et où est la position américaine justement vis-à-vis de la question du Sahara occidental?
Mehani, thank you for the questions. On Libya, we, I think, like Algeria, were saddened at the resignation of Mr. Batili. The U.S. and Algeria speak frequently on issues of regional interest, including Libya, and the United States certainly is hopeful that the UN will name a new special representative of the Secretary General as soon as possible, because we think this issue is one that continues to need to be addressed, and we remain hopeful that the Libyan people can determine the future of Libya without outside interference in terms of foreign mercenary organizations operating within the country. On the Western Sahara, it is a historical fact that in December of 2020, there was a presidential proclamation. You are absolutely correct. The United States continues to advocate for the personal envoy, the Secretary General, Staffan de Mistura, to work on a durable peace that meets the needs of the Sahrawi people. Just to underscore that, the administration's priority is supporting a credible political process leading to an enduring dignified, and internationally supported solution to the conflict in Western Sahara.
C'est Moukhaï Touarabi du quotidien Al-Watan. Je pense que mes collègues ont fait le tour, mais j'ai deux petites questions quand même. Ma première, elle est liée toujours à la coopération au niveau international. Vous savez que l'Algérie a accueilli récemment la réunion du groupe des 10 de l'Union africaine qui se penche sur la réforme du Conseil de sécurité de l'ONU. Vous savez que l'Afrique revendique depuis des années 2 sièges permanents au sein du Conseil de sécurité de l'ONU et la réforme de cette institution pour qu'elle soit efficace et juste dans ses décisions. Quelle est la possibilité de coopération et de soutien des Nations Unies, des États-Unis d'Amérique par rapport à cette démarche africaine menée actuellement par l'Algérie pour justement faire avancer cette revendication africaine? Ça, c'est la première question. La deuxième, c'est les relations entre l'Algérie et les États-Unis sont excellentes d'après votre description. Est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre à une visite de très haut niveau entre les deux pays? Voilà, merci.
On your UN reform question, the U.S. is very supportive of reform at the United Nations. And we continue to have conversations with Algeria and other African partners, as well as other global partners, members of the United Nations, about how those reforms should go forth. And I think that I'm very optimistic about that. That is a long-term process as well. That is not a quick change that can be made. But I think there is certainly a very open attitude from the United States on that issue. So, Mokran, on your second question about senior leader engagement, this is something that I advocate for all the time with Washington and with Algiers. We need more senior leader engagement. Senior leader engagement is going to help us understand each other even better, have a deeper appreciation for each other's perspective, and help us work together to solve the very complex and difficult problems that our world faces today. And I would just say that with Algerian elections in September and U.S. elections in November, this year probably won't have the très haut niveau that you're referring to, but you never know. So I remain optimistic and hopeful.
وعندنا وقت ممكن لسؤالين. Okay, go.
It's good.
Yeah, it's my last question for you. My question is about the visa to the United States of America. Many Algerians find it difficult to obtain it. Can we know why? And can you give us the number of visas that are granted to Algerians during the year? Thank you.
So thank you for your questions, Hayat, on visas. What I would say is this: more Algerians are applying for visas. We have a historic high of visa applications here. Each Algerian is given the opportunity to speak directly with an American consular officer to explain their bona fides and the purpose of their travel. Under U.S. law, it's important to demonstrate your social, family, and economic ties to the place where you live for a non-immigrant visa. Okay, immigrant visa is something totally different, and I can talk about that in a sec. So, on non-immigrant visas, we've expanded our capacity to accept applications, and we are working as quickly as we can through the visa application process. And I think you will see the numbers are historically at a high. On immigrant visas, we are also doing the same. We are, in fact, accepting immigrant visa applications. Algeria is a diversity visa country, and so people can apply for the diversity visa. We issued more diversity visas here last year than in any other visa issuing post anywhere. And that is because we see the value that Algerians will bring to the United States, to our society, to our economy, to our people. And just one more reason why we need the direct flight between Algiers and New York.
السفيرة، حين تلتقين المسؤولين الجزائريين ماذا تطلبين منهم في مجال تحسين مناخ الاستثمار بما يشجع الشركات مزيد من الشركات الأمريكية للقدوم والاستثمار في الجزائر.
So, Jamel, thank you for that question. I think that's a really important point. And what I will tell you is that during my tenure here since February of 2022, I have visited 43 Algerian wilayas. I hope to get to all 58 before I leave. So I still have 15 to go. And when I go on official visits to wilayas around Algeria, not only am I looking for what the opportunities are and what I can share, I'm speaking with Algerian officials at the wilaya level. I'm speaking with chambers of agriculture and chambers of commerce, and I'm speaking to business people directly. I also, of course, speak here in Algiers with government officials about U.S. companies and about businesses. So there are a couple things. U.S. companies look for a stable regulatory framework. They look for partnerships where everybody benefits. And they look for a way to easily move their profits around. Those are the three key factors that U.S. companies are looking for. What I do in a lot of my conversations is ask, what are Algerians looking for? What is the Algerian government looking for? What are Algerian business people, Algerian business associations? What do they need? So that not only am I communicating the American perspective, but I'm hearing the Algerian perspective so that I can share that back. It's only by us understanding each other and finding good matches between the two sides that our economy will continue to grow and develop with each other. I am really happy to have this opportunity today to hear from you all about what's interesting to you. You know, every day it is my privilege and honor to be here in Algeria. This is really, I was here before from 2011 to 2014 as the #2 here at the U.S. Embassy, and the opportunity to return in February 2022 and continue to explore this amazing, great country and learn more about Algerian people and your culture and your cuisine. And to have the opportunity to grow and develop this bilateral relationship even further has been a sheer joy. My husband Daniel and I love every day we're here, and we will continue to work on our economic development, our economic partnerships, our English language, our mutual love of the English language, our cultural preservation and protection, and helping to make the world a better place, seeking peace everywhere. Thank you all.